We will now be discussing the fourth type of special product, which is known as the square of trinomial. But before we get started, we need to know what is square of trinomial. Now, based on the definition of square of trinomial, we can simply work out an equation in connection with this statement or with this definition. Let A, B, and C be the given three terms to be squared. So from the square of trinomial definition, the square of the trinomial is equal to the square of the first, the second, and the last term, plus twice the product of the first and the second term, plus twice the product of the first and the last term, plus twice the product of the second and the last term. Now, where did this formula come from? Or where do this formula derive? This formula derived from the conventional method or the traditional method, which is the longhand method. Square of trinomial can also be written as a plus b plus c multiplied by a plus b plus c. Meaning to say, we're going to multiply the second polynomial by the first polynomial. We will multiply the first term of the second polynomial by each term of the first polynomial. Then after that, the second term of the second polynomial will be multiplied by each term of the first polynomial, and the third term of the second polynomial is to be multiplied by each term of the first polynomial. So let's work on it. A times A, so we have A squared. A times B, so we have positive AB. A times C, so that is positive AC. Then the second term of the second polynomial, B times A, so that is positive AB. B times B, so that is positive B squared. B times C, so that is positive BC. Then the last term we have C times A, so that is positive AC. C times B, so that is positive BC. And then the last we have is C times C, so that is positive C squared. Simplifying now, so we have A squared, 1AB plus 1AB, so that is positive 2AB, plus 1AC plus 1AC, so that is 2AC. So plus B squared, then 1BC plus 1BC, that is positive 2BC, and then we have the last term, and that is simply C squared. Now we can rearrange the formula, which is also the same as this. Okay, based on the definition, the first three terms should be perfect square. So we have the first term here, which is A squared, and then we have the second term, which is B squared, and we have the last third term, that is C squared, and then the fourth term we have 2AB, and then the fifth term we have 2AC, and we have the last term, which is 2BC. And this formula is the same as this formula. Now, if we take a glance at this formula, you will clearly see three things or a pattern in the product. The first one is the product contains or composed of 6 terms. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The second thing, the first 3 terms are all perfect square. So A squared plus B squared plus C squared are all perfect square. And the last 3 terms are all even number, 2AB, 2AC, and 2BC. So let us have an example to illustrate the application of this formula. Find the product of the square of x plus 3y minus 4. So the first thing that we are going to do is to square the first, the second, and the last term. So x by x, so that is equal to x squared. 3y times 3y, so that is positive 9y squared. Negative 4 times negative 4, so that is positive 16. Now to obtain the fourth term, so that is twice the product of the first and the second term. Twice the product of the first and the second term. So that is x times 3y, 3xy, then times 2, so that is positive 6xy. And then the fourth term, fifth term, twice the product of the first and the last term. So we have x times negative 4, so that is negative 4x times 2, so that is negative 8x. And then the last term, we have twice the product of the second and the last term. So we have 3y times negative 4, so that is negative 12y times 2, so that is negative 24y. The next problem we have is square of 2m minus 5n plus 7 is equal to square of the first, the second, and the last term. So we need to square the first, the second, and the last term. So that is 2m times 2m, so that is equal to 4m squared. Negative 5n times negative 5n, so that is positive 25n squared. 7 times 7, so that is positive 49. Now to obtain the fourth term, that is twice the product of the first and the second term. So that is 2m times negative 5n, so that is negative 10mn times 2, negative 20mn. Now for the fifth term, so that is twice the product of the first and the last term. So that is 2m times 7, so that is 14m times 2, so that is 28m. And for the last term, so we have twice the product of the second and the last term. So we have negative 5n times 7, so that is negative 35n times 2, so that is negative 70n. For the next problem we have is the quantity of 3a minus 2b minus 8c raised to square. So square the first, the second, and the last term. So we square 3a, so that is 9a squared. Square negative 2b, so that is positive 4b squared. Square negative 8c, so that is 64c squared. Now to obtain the fourth term, that is twice the product of the first and the second term. Twice the product of the first and the second term, then times 2. So we have 3a times negative 2b, so that is negative 6ab times 2, so that is negative 12ab. For the fifth term, twice the product of the first and the last term. So we have 3a times negative 8c, so that is negative 24ac times 2, so that is negative 48ac. And then for the last term, we have twice the product of the second and the last term. So we have negative 2b times negative 8c, so that is positive 16bc times 2, so that is positive 32bc. Next, for the fourth one, we have 4x squared plus 2y cubed minus 6a4 raised to square. So squaring the first three terms, so we have 4x squared times 4x squared, so that is 16x raised to 4. Then 2y cubed times 2y cubed, so that is 4 positive 4y 6. Negative 6a4 times negative 6a4, so that is positive 36a8. And then for the fourth term, we have twice the product of the first and the second term. So we have 4 times 2, so we have 8x squared y cubed times 2, so that is 16x squared y cubed. And for the fifth term, that is twice the product of the first and the last term. So we have 4x squared multiplied by negative 6a4, so that is negative 24x squared c4 times 2, so that is equal to negative 48x squared c4. And for the last term, we have twice the product of the second and the last term. So that is positive 2y cubed times negative 6a4, so that is equal to negative 12y cubed c4 times 2, so that is negative 24 y cubed c4. And for the last problem we have is a raised to 5 minus 5b7 minus 9 raised to square. So to obtain the first three terms here, we need to square these three terms. So we have a5 times e5, so we have a raised to 10 negative 5b7 times negative 5b7, so that is positive 25b14. Negative 9 times negative 9, so that's equal to positive 81. Now for the fourth term, we multiply the first and the second term, then times 2. So that is 1a5 times negative 5b7, so that is negative 5a5b7 times 2, so that is negative 10a5b7. And then for the fifth term, so we multiply the first and the last term, and that is equal to negative 9 times a5, negative 9a5 times 2, so that is negative 18a5. And then for the last term, multiply the second term by the third term, so we have negative 5b7 times negative 9, so that is a positive 45b7 times 2, so that is positive 90b7. Now to summarize it all, so we have the set of problem which is to be squared. Now if we take notice of this, the product composed of 6 terms. So for problem number 1, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then for problem number 2, the product composed of 6 terms. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For number 3, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For number 4, the product composed of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now the first 3 terms are all perfect square. So 1, 9, 16, 4, 25, 49, 9, 4, 64, 16, 4, 36, 1, 25, 81 are all perfect square. We can say that these numbers are perfect square by finding the square root and seeing if the square root is a whole number. Now for the last 3 terms are all even number. So we have 6, 8, 24 are even number, 20, 28, 70 are all even number, 12, 48, 32 are even number, 16, 48, 24 are even number, and the last we have 10, 18, 90 are all even numbers.